In this video, we're going to talk about sections, containers, and divs, which are going to be the containing elements for all of your website elements and assets. So if you click on Add Elements, you're going to see that under the Structure panel, we're going to find both section, container, and also the divs, which are going to be in the basics. But these are essentially the three basic elements. We're also going to talk about the quick stack and the vflex and hflex in just a moment, but these are going to be the building blocks because they are the fundamental layout elements used to structure and organize content on a web page. So let's talk about the difference between each and every one of them. Let's start with section. So you can click and drag the elements right here on the canvas, and you can check out the navigator to basically confirm where you added the element. If I were to select and add these within one of these items, you can see that the nesting system is quite easy to understand. So this section is at the very top, which contains a container, which now contains a section, which is not a good practice. So I just wanted to show you how this works from a high level. So talking about the sections, the purpose of the sections is that they are used to create large content blocks that typically span the full width of the browser window. So as you can see, it expands from right to left, and they are ideal for dividing your web page into distinct vertical segments. So whenever you're working on a web page, sections are going to be really useful to divide up the different sections, such as a hero section or a feature section, contact us, and so on and so forth. Now, the usage is commonly used for grouping related content, again, such as hero sections, about sections, services sections, and one of the characteristics is that by default sections have a width of 100% of the viewport, meaning they stretch from one side of the screen to the other. Now, the styling, it's relatively easy to grasp at this point because it can include colors, images, or even videos. You've seen those websites with videos covering the entire area. Usually a section would be a good element to have that. Now, if we go on the next item, which is going to be the container, the difference between the section is that containers are used to center content and keeping it within a maximum width. So they do not span across the entire width. And if we drag and drop this container within the section, we can just double check to see if the nesting is right. You can see that the container does not span from left to right, but it's centered, and it has a width applied to it. So typically placed inside sections, containers are used to hold and center content, such as text blocks, images, and other elements. So if I go ahead and add this text element, you can see how now it's centered, and the same can be true for pretty much all of the other elements that I want to add. I can add images to this container, and containers by default have a maximum width of 940 pixels, and they are centered horizontally within their parent container. So if I select the container, you can see that over here under the size properties, the width is set at 940 pixels. And with containers, you can keep content within a set width, which can be customized. So you're not fixed at that 940 pixels of max width, and essentially they help in creating a consistent layout by ensuring content remains aligned within a readable width, because 940 pixels is a good width for a lot of users, in the sense that it's a good width for the average monitor size or laptop screen size. So this is something that you want to keep in mind from a legibility perspective. And the other element that I want to discuss is the div block, which if you already have some experience with HTML and CSS, you're definitely aware that the div block is one of the most used elements on websites, because it's going to help you have a versatile container. So divs, I would say, are the most versatile and basic building blocks in a Webflow. They can be used for a wide variety of purposes, including grouping elements, applying styles, and controlling the layout of other elements. So if we drag and drop a div, you can see that by default there is no styling applied to it. The display is by default block, but you can easily change this to flex or even a grid, and it's going to be extremely versatile. So I can adjust the div as I want, and you can see that even in the default Webflow template that we added over here, it's just a matter of adding divs one after the other, and they simply added a class called section, another one with container, but these aren't the section and container elements. They are simply div blocks. So divs, you can literally use them for whatever you want, and the usage, as we mentioned, can be used anywhere on the page to create custom layouts and structures, and they are often used within sections and containers to further organize and style content. And by default, they don't have any styling or width or height, so you can essentially style them with custom width, heights, margins, paddings, backgrounds, borders, and much more. So they can also quite often be used as flex containers or grid containers to create complex layouts. So this is the different elements that you're going to utilize most often to organize the layout elements within your Webflow pages.